Human development. The roles of heredity in environment. Human development is a complex process influenced by a combination of inherited genetic factors and external environmental conditions. Researchers have long debated the relative impact of these two forces. In this lesson, we explore key studies and findings from scholars who have supported the role of heredity, as well as those who have argued for the importance of the environment. We conclude by examining how these forces interact to shape an individual's development. Heredity in human development. Many scholars and researchers have argued that genetic inheritance plays a fundamental role in determining a person's physical, mental, and even social characteristics. Below are some of the major contributors to this perspective. 1. Sir Francis Galton. Background: a British psychologist and a pioneer in the study of individual differences, Galton established the anthropometric laboratory, where he conducted experiments on heredity, memory, intelligence, and other human faculties. Study and findings. Galton studied 997 members of an English duke's family and found that 535 of them were highly intellectual. In contrast, among 997 individuals from a poor and illiterate family, only 5 were found to be intellectual. Conclusion: he inferred that intelligent parents are more likely to produce intelligent children, emphasizing that heredity plays a key role in the development of a person. Writings: Hereditary Genius, 1869. An Inquiry into Human Faculty and Its Development, 1883. 2. R.L. Dugdale. Background: as the State Police Commissioner of New York, Dugdale examined the patterns of behavior in families with a history of social deviance. Study and findings. Dugdale studied the Max Jukes family, a fisherman's family with around 709 members, many of whom were observed to be criminals or antisocial. In 1877, he published his research in a work titled The Jukes, providing case studies that underscored the influence of heredity on deviant behavior. 3. H. Goddard. Background: Goddard focused on comparing different branches of the same family to understand hereditary influences. Study and findings. He investigated the case of Martin Kallikak, an army man who had an illicit relationship with a woman of the Moran family. His research revealed a stark contrast between the descendants. One branch, resulting from the relationship with the Moran woman, showed high rates of mental retardation, criminality, sexual deviancy, alcoholism, and prostitution, whereas the branch from a later, socially respectable marriage displayed sound moral, social, and intellectual characteristics. Conclusion: Goddard's study of the Kallikak family provided compelling evidence that hereditary factors can predispose individuals to certain traits and behaviors. 4. Pearson. Background: a British psychologist, Pearson was a strong proponent of the idea that characteristics like intelligence are inherited. Study and findings. He compared two families: the Darwin family, where many members were gifted, intellectual, and even members of the Royal Society, and the Homini family, where a mentally retarded mother and physically handicapped father had children, most of whom turned out to be weak-minded. Conclusion: Pearson's comparative study reinforced the idea that heredity largely determines intellectual capabilities and other traits. 5. G.W. Alport, America. Background: Alport is known for his work on personality. In his book Personality, he argued that genetic factors determine our experience of pain and pleasure. Study and findings: He cited examples such as the cricketer Lala Amarnath and his sons, Surinder Amarnath and Mahinder Amarnath, as well as the Mangeshkar family, with Lata Mangeshkar and Asha Bhosle being daughters of a classical musician, Hridaynath Mangeshkar, to support his view. Conclusion: Alport maintained that heredity plays a more significant role than environmental factors in shaping a person's abilities and dispositions. 6. Freeman. Background: Freeman conducted studies focusing on twins, siblings, and other blood relations. Study and findings: His research demonstrated a positive correlation between intelligence and heredity, which was found to be even stronger among identical twins. Conclusion: The studies supported the idea that genetic factors are closely linked to intellectual development. 7. Kellogg. Background: The Kellogg's conducted research involving cross-species comparisons to isolate hereditary factors. Study and findings: They observed a unique case where a male chimpanzee was adopted, and its offspring included both a human child, Donald, and a chimpanzee baby, Guva, raised in the same environment. Although both were exposed to identical environmental conditions, Donald displayed strong mental and cognitive development, while Guva excelled in physical activities such as jumping, skipping, and running. Conclusion: This experiment suggested that heredity influences different aspects of development, mental faculties in humans and physical prowess in chimpanzees. 8. Dr. Winship, Britain. Background: Drive. Winship studied the effects of parental intelligence on children's development through a family case study. Study and findings: In the Edward family, the first wife, Elizabeth, was noted for her high intelligence, a Royal Society member, and her children grew up to be doctors, lawyers, and teachers. Conversely, the second wife, Mary, who was of average intelligence, had children who were mostly average in intellectual ability. Conclusion: His observations further supported the role of heredity in determining intellectual outcomes. 2. The influence of environment on human development. While heredity sets certain potentials, many researchers emphasize that the environment plays a crucial role in shaping an individual's abilities, behaviors, and overall development. Here are some key contributions to the argument for environmental influence. Defining environment. Concept: Environment encompasses every factor affecting a person except genes. According to theorists like Boring, Longfield, Weld, and Woodworth, this includes factors from the family, school, society, neighborhood, media, community, religion, culture, and even broader social structures like caste, race, or sect. Impact. The nature and abilities of an individual are significantly molded by the external conditions to which they are exposed throughout life. 1. J. B. Watson, USA. Background. Known as the father of behaviorism, Watson was a staunch advocate for the power of environmental influence. Study and findings. He defined psychology as the science of studying all behaviors of organisms, emphasizing observable behavior over innate factors. His writings include works such as Behaviorism, 1878, and An Introduction to Comparative Psychology, 1894. Famous assertion. Watson famously declared, "Give me a dozen healthy individuals irrespective of their heredity. I will make them doctors, engineers or teachers, and still if you need I will make them idiots or thieves." This quote underscores his belief that a proper environment can shape any individual's destiny. 2. Newman, Freeman, and Hollinger. Study and findings. Black small square. Twins raised in the same environment had an average IQ difference of 5.9 points. Black small square. Twins raised apart showed an average IQ difference of 8.2 points. They conducted research on 19 pairs of identical twins raised in different environments. Results. Conclusion. The larger IQ discrepancy among twins raised in separate environments points to the significant role that external factors play in cognitive development. 3. Gordon. Study and findings. Gordon researched 76 individuals who worked as ship drivers and gypsy drivers. Although these individuals had good IQ scores during childhood, a gradual decline in IQ was noted once they became drivers and were distanced from the school environment. Conclusion. The study suggests that withdrawal from an enriching environment like school can adversely affect intellectual development. 4. William Chudler Bagley, USA. Background. Bagley, a proponent of educational theories, authored the work Educational Determinism. Study and findings. He argued that the quality of schooling, the basic amenities and educational facilities, plays a fundamental role in learning and overall child development. Conclusion. According to Bagley, the environment, particularly educational settings, is crucial in determining developmental outcomes. 5. Freeman F.N. Study and findings. In a study involving two identical twins, Mildred and Ruth, raised in different environments, significant differences in IQ scores were observed. Conclusion. This research further supports the argument that the environment has a pronounced effect on intellectual development. 6. Skodak. Study and findings. Skodak conducted research on adopted children. He found that a child born to a natural mother with an IQ of approximately 87.7 could achieve an IQ of 116 when adopted by a mother with a higher IQ and raised in a nurturing environment. Conclusion: Scodex findings indicate that a positive and stimulating environment can substantially enhance intellectual capabilities, sometimes even outweighing hereditary predispositions. Additional illustrative examples: feral children. A man who grows up in a forest living with wolves often struggles with survival and exhibits extremely poor language development once introduced to society. Historical, mythological cases. The legendary founders of the Roman Empire, Romulus and Remus, and the case of the identical twins Amala and Kamla from Bengal, have been cited as examples where the lack of a proper nurturing environment resulted in behavior resembling that of wild animals. 3. Synthesis and conclusion. The studies and observations presented above lead to an important understanding. Heredity provides the blueprint for many of our physical and intellectual traits. It can determine predispositions, whether toward high intellectual ability, physical talent, or even tendencies toward deviant behavior. Environment, on the other hand, influences the expression and refinement of these inherited traits. It shapes our moral, emotional, and social development. As Woodworth famously stated, human is the combined product of heredity and environment. In practical terms, an individual may inherit a natural talent, for example, physical prowess or cognitive ability, but the environment, through education, social interactions, and cultural influences, plays a decisive role in how these abilities are developed and expressed. Examples in practice. A child born with strong physical attributes may become an excellent athlete if provided with proper training, nutrition, and support. Likewise, an intelligent child requires a stimulating and resourceful educational environment to fully realize his or her potential. Thus, while the debate over nature versus nurture continues, it is clear that both heredity and environment are deeply interwoven in the tapestry of human development. Recognizing this interplay is essential for understanding individual differences and for developing strategies in education, healthcare, and social policy.